Yeah. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the CheezeTalk Podcast. I am your host, Brian Regg. To talk about Green Bay Packers, sports in general, and some life. Lots going on, especially the last couple of days. Current events in the world and all that fun stuff. But mainly basketball, football talk. Tonight I have on a good friend of the show, Cowboy Regg. He will be with us shortly. He is a diehard Cowboys fan. Today we're going to talk about Packers mid-season so far, the Cowboys mid-season so far, our thoughts on both teams, and some other topics within the NFL. We're going to do a preseason or mid-season awards so far. But let me add Reg to the podcast here. Welcome, Reg.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
I'm doing. It's getting a little cold up here in Wisconsin. High 55, and
tough, man. It was. You're not going to believe it, but it was hot and humid down south today. I think it was 83, but super high humidity, man. We were out there today, shorts and t-shirts.
As a typical, Wisconsin kid, I had on sandals, shorts, and a hooded sweatshirt.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but a lot of times down here in the fall and early winter, like we miss that. Like I want to put a hoodie on. I got a CheezeTalk hoodie. I want to put that on, but
right?
It's too hot, man. I got to wear a Cowboys t-shirt. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna have to get some cooler weather down here. Right.
So tonight's episode, we're gonna kind of dive in to see like your thoughts on Cowboys Packers. Not exactly halfway through the season. Some highlights, some studs, duds. Your thoughts on certain players that maybe aren't making quite the impact that you thought they would.
Yeah.
Some transactions, some injuries. I want to talk about the Vikings a little bit, just because I noticed something that's was quite obvious in Green Bay too when that player was with the Packers. Then kind of do like our midseason awards, like MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. But let's get to some of these comments here, blowing up on the left side of my screen here. Hot Take City, yo, look at this man. Two enemies have a show.
Hey, it's not like we're not Packers Bears and we're not Cowboys Eagles, so we could get along a little bit better.
Oh yeah, this is the guy who went into hiding from being a Giants fan. So
yeah, well, I always say Hot Take knows it. No matter how bad the Cowboys season is, we can always look forward to beating the Giants. So we got that
right. For sure. Let's see what else we got. This was his first one. He said, "Yo." But no, he's a good follow, good guy, good insight. It's always fun to have. I have him on, I think, the 23rd of November. So
Hot Take's awesome.
Yeah. What else do we have here? Oh yes, I want to post all the comments. Let's go. Whatever. It's back up again. My bad. This is a new platform that the Ope Network is using for podcasting. Okay. It's pretty cool to be able to have that background.
Yeah,
thunder and lightning and flashing and the big old state of Wisconsin, the mitten,
There you go.
So before we get started, I just want to I mentioned them before, Ohana Packers. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do a podcast under their umbrella, Ohana or Ope Network. Been able to have a lot of cool guests on and meet people and just talk sports, which is always fun, especially in a world that we live in today when there's so much BS going on that, it's good to have an outlet to, discuss things and Yeah. So what's your thoughts so far on the Cowboys season? The
I
last
mean,
week it took kind of a big hit.
it is just an utter disaster. It's more disappointing than I could anticipate because I mean the answers to the problems seem so clear, but for some reason it's not being transferred to Jerry or Mike McCarthy, whoever's in charge over there. It's like, we spent the first half of our season handing the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott when, Rico Dowdle's in the building averaging, 4.3 yards a carry. And then this week, oh, Zeke's sick or Zeke's being disciplined, rather. They said Rico was sick the week before. So, okay, Zeke can't play, so we're just going to have to give the ball to Rico. What does he do? Even though they lost, he had 107 all purpose yards and he averaged 6.1 yards a carry. And he's in the building, but they won't give him the ball. And that's frustrating, and we're seeing that on both sides of the ball right now, where they just don't appear to be playing the right players, or they are trying to lose. We're trying, as a fan base, we're trying to figure out, are we rebuilding? Because if we're rebuilding, some of this might make some sense. But if we're trying to win, I'm not seeing it on the field. And Mike McCarthy, I believe, has lost control of the locker room.
No, you wouldn't say that.
Uh,
Come on. I have
you
no
guys
idea what you're talking
you
about.
you guys wouldn't know anything about that. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, that's a long answer, but our state of the season right now is not good. I don't know if I would call it chaos because it seems to be organized. Um, it's like
Organized chaos.
an organized tanking. It's like, hey, look, guys, let's just do enough to keep these games close so the fans think we're trying, but let's make sure we lose it in the end. I mean, that's what it seems like they're doing. Now we got injury city, right? We've had injuries all year, but now it's like it's gone from, hey, you guys are just using that excuse, to, oh, Dak Prescott's out for 4 weeks. That's going to change our entire offense. Um, Maybe for the better. We'll find out. A lot of people hating on Dak and been calling for Cooper Rush. Well, there you go. You got Cooper Rush for 4 weeks. So
Yeah, yeah. It's just you mentioned maybe it's like a rebuild tank
yeah,
type thing, but then you maximize some of these contracts, and
yeah.
is it really a rebuild when it's all said and done? Because
Well,
you're not gonna have money to pay out these for the rebuild that you
they
want.
they paid two guys big, but there is a lot of guys coming up on the back end of their contract right now that I think they want to let walk. So I think, the term that's been bounced around is soft rebuild, meaning we'll try to be competitive, but we know there's a light at the end of the tunnel next year. They've got more draft picks coming next year. They didn't trade them away for Trey
Yeah,
Lance. No, yeah, Jay. I mean, he's gone from trading away picks to not doing anything. Our new philosophy is we don't do anything. So, I mean, it looks like a soft rebuild to me. It looks like, hey, we're okay going 8-9, 9-8, 7-10, whatever. We'll compete, but we're gonna get maybe the rumor is we're gonna get a running back in the draft, and you and I both know you don't need to pick number one to get the best running back in the draft. They're usually going late first round or sometimes second or third round now. But I think that guy out of Boise State has caught a lot of people's eyes, including the Cowboys. Now you're starting to wonder, like, did they not bring in Derrick Henry on purpose? Did they see this guy coming up the following year and they're like, well, we can dump some of these bad contracts next year and go draft a running back? But that's giving way too much credit to Jerry. That would take too much. That would be a good strategy.
I
And
think it was McCarthy's
yeah,
idea not to go after Derrick
yeah,
Henry.
yeah. I mean, that what Jerry said, and Jerry kind of threw McCarthy under the bus. He said, "Well, we decided that Derrick Henry's style doesn't fit our offense." Well, guess who runs the offense? The offensive coordinator is Mike McCarthy. So I think
But
Jerry got a little
that doesn't make
backhanded
any sense because I mean, if you had Derrick Henry as a running back, can
game
you
changer.
imagine how good these receivers would be? They'd be wide
Oh
open.
yeah, I mean,
It doesn't.
it, and the crazy thing, Brian, is that he has a house in Dallas. He spends the off season in Dallas, and he openly has stated the Cowboys never even called me. Now he signed for $16 million for 2 years. That looks like the biggest bargain of all time right now, doesn't it? I
Well, even
mean,
Josh Jacobs to Green Bay, I think he's signing for the same thing.
yeah, I mean, that's a bargain. I mean, Saquon took up a lot of money. I understand why Dallas didn't go after him, but 16 million for 2 years? I mean, come on. I mean, that would have fit right in under the cap. They could have got him in there, run the ball, but again, maybe that's not the plan. I mean, I don't know what's going on right now, man, but the cool thing is that us, Cowboy realists, we're not stressing over the game anymore. I'm not stressing over the game. We're playing the Eagles. I shouldn't even be sleeping at night. I should be freaking out. This is big, right? It's not big. It's not big. We're not going anywhere. We're third place in the NFC East. That's where we're going to stay. They've made this clear that they're not going to win this year. So there's no stress. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Rico Dowdle. I'm looking forward to seeing Cooper Rush. Like, you know, what's what's different about the offense when Cooper's in there? Um, you could call it garbage time last week, but he led a nice drive down there at the end of the game, and then a 2-point conversion, and the Cowboys were an onside kick away from being a one-score game with the ball. So
Right.
maybe Cooper Rush can light a fire under this offense. I doubt it, but at least that it's something that I'll be watching instead of just saying, can we beat the Eagles? Probably not. I mean, I'm not going to get my hopes up on that. But what do we see different about this offense when Cooper Rush is running the show as opposed to Dak running the show? And we've seen this before. Cooper doesn't put up the numbers, but he wins games. He's 5-1. He's 5-1 as a starter, man. That's not easy to do, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, you think about too. I mean, kind of the same situation with the Packers when Jordan Love went down. I
Malik
mean, we made that trade for Malik Willis, and that was
Willis.
like
Yeah.
one of
We
the
got
best moves I think of the year.
we
You know?
we got a running back named Malik Davis that came out of my
Yeah.
mouth immediately. Oh, Malik Davis, Malik Willis. Yeah, I mean, and then you start looking at, did you want to bring Love back as soon as you brought him back because he was doing a nice job, But it's Love's team, it's Dak's team. They're going to come back, but it sure is nice knowing that these backups can play and win a couple games for you that you should win.
Right.
That's why we should not beat the Eagles. They're 7.5-point favorites, which is a massive if you think about Cowboys hosting the game and they're the reigning division champs. Why are they 7.5-point underdogs? Because they've lost their quarterback and they're playing terrible, and Mike McCarthy looks like he can't motivate the team. They don't get fired up until the fourth quarter every week, and then they make these. We saw it in the playoff game last year. You and I saw it. I mean, they do absolutely nothing for 3 quarters, and then Mike McCarthy puts down the Waffle House menu, and Dak starts running the offense. Hurry up! And all of a sudden, they're like, "Holy crap! The Cowboys are within 2 scores of the Packers. How did that
Hey,
happen?"
to the Packers' defense, there they didn't have their starters in at that
Yeah,
time. But
well,
then they put him back in,
yeah,
and things
yeah,
things
yeah.
changed.
Yeah. You and I probably disagree on that because I believe that they did have their starters back in at the end of the game, yeah, but they weren't trying to let the Cowboys score 30 points in a playoff game. There's no,
Right.
they're playing hard out there. But my point is, the offense seems to run better when McCarthy's not calling plays. And that either makes Dak a genius or McCarthy an idiot. I'm kind of siding with number 2 on that. That's just me.
I'll have to try to catch him one of these days when he comes back to Green Bay because I'm pretty sure he sells a house in Green Bay. I'll have to
Yeah,
try to do like a live broadcast from his front
yeah.
door.
I've seen. I got a good friend. I've told you before in Green Bay, and he told me that he's actually seen his wife in town. So yeah, it's small town living, Green Bay. So
Yeah.
apparently they are still there. So he will be your offensive coordinator next year. So it's good that he has that
Well,
out.
we actually have a head coach that's an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So do we. That's the
I
problem.
think ours has better results because he's just a genius. I mean, you look at LaFleur's play calling. I was saying this on one of my previous podcasts. There's a play I can't remember. I should look this up and write it down. But Christian Watson had 2 touchdowns this year against, I forgot what team it was, but there's one player, he was like maybe 15, 10 yards from the end zone, and he had like a little, like a post and a slant, and he wrote, and they said that LaFleur made that play up on the sideline. But then
Nice.
you go to a freeze frame, like aerial shot of that play, and every receiver that was eligible to catch the ball, there was like nobody within 5 yards of them. I mean, that's just. Then again, you go back to the Vikings game where they're just murdering us in the first half, right? And then you try to play catch up. You can't, wait so long to make adjustments. Like if we would have played the second half like we played the first half, we gave up 3 points to the Vikings in the second half, and we scored like
Right.
28 points.
Yeah, that was a
You
nice
know,
comeback, man. And I think a lot of that was rust on. I think Jordan Love was rusty. I think the good thing about playing, I think you might have won that game if he did not play. I really do. However, the fact that he played and he came back so strong in the second half, I think set you up for the rest of the year. So in the long term, it's probably good that he played. But I think you might have won that game. I think he was rusty in the first half, and now he
yeah,
got it rolling. I'm a big Jordan Love fan. I see how the Packers have developed 3 consecutive quarterbacks, and I just shake my head. I'm like, man, you guys got something good over there. But you got to have him rolling again. You just can't have Willis playing any more games at this point. You got some serious competition in your division. Holy crap! I mean,
yeah. And
it,
that
it
that
it's
Lions game, that was
it's
when
crazy.
you look at all the miscues the Packers had against the Lions. I mean, they had drop touchdowns, they had missed field goals, they're beyond um, the Lions 40-yard line, like to the and
Yeah,
we only scored like 10 points or 14, whatever it was, and it's like you look at all that. I just think, I mean, you hate to say the weather played a part, but I really think it did. So
yeah.
windy and
They say Detroit's a dome team, but Dan Campbell made a comment after the game that they prepare for it. So whatever they do to prepare for the weather, the other teams, we got to find out what they did because they went in there and played like they were the home team, and they're a dome team, so that's crazy.
that was their first field game of the year, like outside game.
Yeah, so
And
how'd they come out smoking like that? It's crazy.
no idea. I think it's the way they're coached.
Yeah,
Their,
yeah,
their defense put pressure on our quarterbacks. We couldn't put pressure on their quarterback, allowing you know
yeah. That
everyone
surprised me.
everyone and their mom to get. I mean, the Packers haven't been able to apply pressure on the quarterback from the line all year long.
Yeah, that surprises me because I thought y'all had a really nice pass rush and I mean just an overall great defense. But Detroit is a video game offense, man. They put it on the Cowboys too, man. I was afraid they were going to score 60. So yeah, you're in for a long day when you face that offense. But you guys you'll figure it out. You're well coached. I think you'll figure it out, and they're going
Well,
to
like last year,
again.
we got beat at home by both the Vikings and the Lions, and we went into both of their and just blew them out. You
Yeah,
know,
that's division right there, right? That's divisional football. It's probably going to be a split every year when teams are good.
yeah, and you got the Lions fans like it was like their Super Bowl,
Yeah,
beating the Packers, and of course I have to play with them every once in a while too. I was just writing down this little tidbit of information before we came on. From 1994 to 2022, the Packers have 15 division titles. The Vikings have 8. The Bears have 5. The Buccaneers have 1, and the Lions had 0. So until you start,
what's
being
crazy? That's
yeah,
crazy. The Buccaneers, who aren't even in the division anymore,
right.
won more division titles since '94 since Detroit. So
But who the last year who won it though? Wasn't it the White? Was it the
I mean, it should have been Detroit last
yeah?
year.
So they would have had, but yeah, that was 94 to
Yeah,
2022. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
but
okay, so now they're tied with the Bucks. Okay,
yeah, they've been out of the division for how many years?
that's crazy because they've had some good teams. I mean, I remember that the Cowboys playoff game with Romo against Detroit. Um, so that was what 16 maybe. They had a good team, but they must have been a wild card team that year. They wouldn't have won the division. Yeah, you guys won the division. You had the home field.
Yep.
That's the year of the Des catch no catch was after they beat the Lions at home. Then they went up to Green Bay, right? That was
Yep.
so you guys had home field advantage, so you must have won the division that year. But yeah, Detroit. And the scary thing about Detroit is they're fairly young. They're set up, man. They're set up. They're gonna, you guys are young too. It's gonna be a interesting next few years. You got to figure Minnesota's going to drop off because their quarterback is older, but they got a rookie quarterback in the waiting, so maybe they stay competitive. Then you got
Yeah.
the Bears. Just they end up being the Bears, right? They overhyped them, and now they're on the bottom looking up, and their quarterback's starting to look like he is actually a rookie. So I think they might stay at the bottom for for a while while you guys duke it out with Detroit and Minnesota.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up about the Vikings with this. I've watched a few other games, not in their entirety, but just parts of it. And I think one was a primetime game. But like the more Aaron Jones was producing, the better the team was doing. Then they quit going to him. Then they just like fell apart. But
Yeah.
don't you think you'd be able to figure that out? You just roll with him, and
I mean, I see it
you
every.
know,
Unfortunately, I see this every week with the Cowboys. It's like Rico gets him 5 yards, Rico gets him 4 yards, and then he's on the bench, and Zeke gets him a half a yard and 1 yard, and Dalvin Cook comes in and gets 2.5 yards, and they're like, okay, let's put that Rico guy back in, and then he goes 6 yards and 10 yards and 12. So it's like I don't. Do they get so scripted? Do these coaches have this game plan so scripted that they're going in order of their play calls to get them all in because they prepped for it all week, and then they're not reacting on the fly? And I think it's got to be a combination of both. And I don't think a lot of these coaches making those adjustments until it's either too late or it's a hurry up offense and they're forced to make adjustments. And
right?
I think about the helmet cam too, because prior to that technology being legal in the NFL, a lot of times I don't think quarterbacks had the ability to get a play call in. They were just rolling with it. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know why these coaches don't make some of them. I'm sure the good coaches do, but some of these coaches like McCarthy, they don't do anything but whatever's written on that stupid. I call it a Waffle House menu because it literally looks like one, and I know he's a frequent flyer over there. So
Yeah, well, the thing is, now that you mention it, if I ever did go to his house and ring his doorbell, I might get the Microsoft Surface thrown at me and his headset
yeah,
thrown at me, and
oh, that was the most passion I've seen that guy show. You know, And I mean, it's like, okay, that's nice, Mike. What are you going to do about it? Well, I'm going to call a fake punt on our own 30. Okay, there you go. Now the game's
and and you think about it too, like coaching, it shouldn't be so difficult. Like I coach a fifth grade kids team here in De Pere, and like this is like our second or third week of practice, and we practiced with another fifth grade team, and so we scrimmaged on Wednesday with them, and we had an inbound play. Well, the second time we ran it, the team's like, okay, now the other team that we're playing called out, okay, this is what they're gonna do, this is what they're gonna do. So now I have like a rebuttal play to where
yeah,
we're gonna like do the same formation, but we're gonna have different movements and throw them off. So they're gonna prepare for something that ain't coming at them, and we're gonna throw them off. You got throw them off their game, go
yeah.
off script,
It should be that simple, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I see these plays and I see the personnel is what bothers me. If a guy is hot, keep feeding him the ball. I don't care if your game plan was, oh, he needs to rotate out. All these running backs are on these touch counts now. It's like, well, man, if he's running 8 or 9 or 10 yard chunks, why would you take him out?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like taking a shooter out, a guy who's 3 or 4 3-pointers in a row, and then they take a timeout and he's on the bench. That drives me crazy too, man. Shoot till you miss. And I'm feeding, if Jacobs runs the ball for 10 yards, I'm feeding him again. And
right.
he runs for 10 more. Oh, I'm going to pass now? No, I'm going to feed him again.
Yeah, he has some nice runs against the Lions too, against their defense.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know where he's at in touches, but That's another guy I'd like to see get the ball more. I think the offense could actually run through him a little bit.
Isn't
And
that crazy though? Like out of in his career, his 212th reception out of the backfield was his first reception touchdown in Green
oh,
as a running back.
wow,
He had none in Vegas.
that's crazy. Well, I don't know what's going on in Vegas because when Carr got out, as soon as Carr left, he looked like top 5 QB in the league. Once he left Vegas, I don't know what's going on up in Vegas.
Yeah, and even like I was glad to see Preston Smith get a chance in Pittsburgh because he was good for the Packers, and they switched to defense, which really wasn't built for a player like him. And then on that, we're saving cap money. I think we have like 61 million in cap room next year,
Yeah,
and we have the like now we were the youngest team with a 31-year-old on the team. Now he's gone, and now we're definitely the youngest team. And then you bring in like Aaron Mosby. He ran over that all-world right tackle for the Lions last week. He just plowed him right over, pancaked him. And I
nice.
think these young guys, are out there to prove something. And I'm excited for the second half. Like this time last year, we were 3-6.
Yeah,
Now
that's
we're 6-3 now. So I mean, if there's any time to get hot and catch fire, it's out of the bye with that mentality. You got punched in the mouth by little brother, and just come back with a vengeance. I think perfect timing for considering everything like Love with his hand or with his groin and his knee and everything else. I think it's perfect timing to get the rest and refocus and come back on fire.
yeah. You're telling me the Packers were 3-6 last year. Well, the Cowboys are 3-5. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah. You never know. Wouldn't that be the ultimate karma if Cooper Rush came back in and just lit it up?
The problem is you just paid Dak all that money. So that makes me wonder too, not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but do they really want to win with Cooper? Because Dak's 3-5. So you know what's going to happen to our fan base if Cooper wins. Let's say he goes 3-1 in these 4 games he's in. He goes 3-1 and Dak was 3-5. You know what this fan base is going to be calling for? They're going to be calling for Cooper Rush. And now the
Yeah,
Cowboys going to have a problem. So I don't even know what they're going to do. The last time when Cooper Rush came in a couple years ago and had that nice run, he went 4-1. He's 5-1 overall. But when they went 4-1 with him, they were top of the NFC East. They're trying to get into the playoffs. So they kept winning with him. Right now, I would assume they don't want to win these games with him. But if they do, that's going to create, oh boy, we're going to have some serious sports talk show drama if Cooper Rush starts winning games.
yeah. Well, is Texas big enough for that kind of talk? I mean,
Ah,
it's the
it,
state that is the state.
it,
Is the state of Texas. They say everything's big in Texas.
yeah, but it ain't going to be just in Texas. The whole 50 states, like the whole world likes to talk about the Cowboys, right? So could,
Yeah,
could you
Marty
imagine
and
the highest paid quarterback in the league, which is Dak Prescott? Can you imagine a team benching that guy because the backup is outplaying him? I can't imagine that happening. So I'm just going to assume they're not going to try to win these games with Cooper Rush. But man, I don't know. We'll see.
ask for a refund.
Because look, they got guys coming back this week, man. They got Micah Parsons is coming back this week. He's been out 3 games. That's a huge impact.
Yeah,
Diggs,
for sure.
Diggs is healthy now. Bland is not coming back, and yet he's hurt. CD Lamb's fine. He's off the injury report. Whatever happened to his shoulder is off the injury report now. So you got CD coming back 100%. You got Micah coming back 100%. Trevon Diggs with another game under his belt. I think he's okay. Would they mess around? They could mess around and win a couple games with Cooper Rush, and then we got a problem, man. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's kind of like Deshaun Watson problem. Um, you see how Flacco came in there and outplayed him, and the fan base went nuts, and they literally had to let Flacco go. They had to let him walk because they couldn't put up with the controversy. Well, now there is no controversy because he's out for the year. So
Right.
they don't have to argue over it. But the Browns fan base was ready to haul Watson out of town. But the owners are like, no, dude, we paid him, 240 million or whatever he got. We're going to play him. Well, that's what they're going to end up doing with Dak, right? You got to play him. Just paid him for 4 years. You can't put him on the bench behind your backup. So I would assume they're not going to really try to win these games, man. I would love to see them beat the Eagles with Cooper Rush, though. I would love to see it. And then we got to deal with the backlash from the fan base. We'll worry about that. But that would be great. That would be great.
I've been in the shoes to deal with the backlash of the
Yeah.
fan base.
Yeah. I
I
mean, you guys had
after
that
that.
with Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, what do you do with Aaron Rodgers, And you guys end up doing the right thing. That was the same deal.
Yeah, we just didn't renew his contract, and we ate it like the last 2
Yeah.
years, or whatever. But now we're seeing the positive impact that had for the team with McKinney and Jacobs. I mean, McKinney is just lights out right now,
Yeah.
and Jacobs is doing good, and Love is doing good. And we're the youngest team, and we're 6-3. So
Yeah. And I think you guys made by far the right decision when you look at the chaos in New York. I mean, the Jets, they just keep bringing in more and more weapons for Aaron, and they get rid of the coach for Aaron. And it's still the same result at the end of the day, man. He's getting old. I'm sorry.
and where'd that coach go?
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah,
employed by the Packers right now.
yeah. Y'all sucked him right up, man. So
Well,
McCarthy's next. You could take him.
no, but the difference with that though, Reg, is LaFleur and Salah. LaFleur
Yeah,
was the best man in his wedding. So
yeah. I know they got a good one. And that's what he's not a bad coach. Anytime you can get a head coach, I said this about bringing in Mike Zimmer. It's like anytime you get a guy who was a head coach to be a coordinator, that's a good situation for you. So kudos to you guys for giving him a job and B, a job on a winning franchise where they might actually go somewhere.
yeah, and he's like he pretty much points out defensive stuff to the offense.
Yeah,
So that's kind of cool, and like he's friends with Halfley as well, and he knows the linebackers coach Campanino or whatever his name is. So I mean, they're all like good friends. So it's
he walked right in the building and he's good to go. You don't need to introduce him to everybody, and he can get right to work. That's a nice pickup, man.
yeah, it's funny too because one of the people watching commented said that on Reddit today. Anders Carlson got put on the Jets practice squad, the former kicker for the Packers that went to he went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And he was like 5 for 5 for field goals, but he was missing extra points. And then they released him, and it's just crazy how we ended up with McManus on our team, and he had back-to-back game-winning field goals, something that we were struggling with all year, came through in the clutch for us, and it's been a crazy year so far for the NFL, and yeah. I was going to ask you too, like, so that hit by Brian Branch on Sunday, the helmet to helmet and getting the ejection. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've actually been thinking a lot about this, and I think, people act surprised, but in college they get targeting, you get ejected, and then you think about like all these players that have the CTE. Look what happened to look what Junior Seau and all this. Do you think there needs to be more of a punishment for these malicious hits? Because don't get me wrong, I truly wholeheartedly believe that the Lions defense is coached that way.
Yeah.
And I think the NFL has got to make big improvements on how we discipline this. And if it's a hit that is not seen by a field official,
right.
And if it's seen on the TV, I think New York calls in, stops the game, reviews it, and gets him out of there.
And gives
that's work. I mean, look, it's workplace violence. I don't care. It's a job. You're violently hitting somebody. If that's any of us at our job, we get taken out in handcuffs.
Yep. And they know the rules now. They're coached, supposedly coached, and given all these classes on how to hit, and it's going from the high school level up. This generation of players should not be able to say, "Well, I would," because for me, I'm in my 50s. When I played football growing up, Pop Warner, all the way to high school football, we were taught to put our head down. We didn't know about all the, if you got a concussion, it was called getting your bell rung. You got your bell rung, get back in the game, and you did.
Yeah. Yep.
But now what we know about concussions has changed the way they teach tackling. It's head up. So when you see a guy lower his head like that, branch, and thrust into someone, you say, that is malicious. It's not accidental. Now, I don't like when they call guys who are like diving through the air, before the receivers even got the ball, and then, oh, they hit helmets. Well, you got to look for intent. And when there's intent, I think the penalty needs to be immediate. What do they care about a fine? Nobody cares about fines. They'll take it. What they do care is you give the Packers 15 yards. Give them 15 yards for that play, like you said. Stop the game, review it, boom. He's ejected, 15-yard penalty. More than any fine, I think that would stop it. I think college has it right. I think what college is doing, they've got it right. But we got to figure out a way to define it, because the worst thing is when a guy doesn't mean to hit helmet to helmet, maybe grazes a helmet, and then it's 15 yards. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I want to see some sort of intent. I don't want to see accident. And this is an accident, and this guy gets fined 50 grand or something. Like, no. But when they do it on purpose, I would love to see it penalized immediately and fined. Both.
Not if it happens in a game, I'd do a game check. Why
Yeah,
not?
give him 15 yards, then throw him out.
Yeah,
Like,
fine
and
him. If he's making,
and the kickback. Yeah, that's your fine. You don't get paid for your work today because you didn't do your job properly. You went out there, did something illegal against the company policy. This is company policy, right? People get sent home at work all the time for not following company policy. So that's
and then there was video on the Lions. I forgot who was handing out T-shirts that were made of picture of Branch doing the double birds leaving the stadium. So they're celebrating it.
yeah. I mean,
You
you're
know, that's
you're,
that's Detroit.
you're not going to surprise me. Remember, they took out billboards over that referee eligible man penalty last year that they believe cost them the 2-point conversion. They took out billboards on that after the game. The game, like, it's over and we're not going to play you anymore. We're not in your division. We'll see you in 4 years. And they're putting out billboards. So you don't have to tell me about that Detroit fan base. I'm sure it's worse coming at you at the Packers.
And it's just I think that they should, because you look at the NFL, the money they make, and they can't, and for them it's just like pocket, just slush money to pay for these. They should be paying more for the people that were affected with the CTE and all that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just, this doesn't seem right. It's like, how much money can the NFL make before, you know, it realizes that it's putting a bad product out there because of what they're saying is okay to play. You know,
I mean, we got to find a. I don't know. You see these new caps that they're wearing, the padded cap or whatever. It looks kind of funny.
the Guardian
Yeah,
helmets.
yeah. I mean, is that proven to work? I mean, should they be wearing those? I mean, you don't want to change the game. You still want it to be tackle football, but you don't want your heroes walking around, brain dead or have dementia when they're 50. It's tough, man. And right now, our fan base is dealing with that with Tony Dorsett. Tony Dorsett has CTE and it's getting bad. And, we're not seeing him on camera anymore. And his family is saying, we can't put him on camera. Some days he doesn't know where he's at. He's going through that. It's like, Tony Dorsett, man, come on.
Yeah, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with dementia in her 50s,
It's
and
tough.
it's crazy. I mean, even look at, like you mentioned, like some of our heroes, Brett
Yeah.
Favre. Now
Yeah.
he has Parkinson's. Is that caused from
It's
taking
got,
too many hits?
you can't tell me Muhammad Ali got Parkinson's randomly and Brett Favre got Parkinson's randomly. Both those guys got hit in the head for a living. and Favre was addicted to ibuprofen because he was masking the pain of getting hit. And the guy played, you know this, you're a Packer fan, but he has the NFL record for consecutive starts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he played an ungodly amount of games hurt, and
Yeah.
the NFL allowed him to do that. You know, so
Making money. Making
yeah,
that money.
there's got to be something, man. And Tua, come on, man. I cannot. If he, if he was my son, and I have kids almost at that age, I would beg him not to play. I mean, could you imagine his family watching him go into these seizures, which he's done 3 times on the field, and then him say, "Oh, I've been cleared. I'll be back out there Sunday." No way, man.
He came back last week, and I saw a still picture of him running with his head down.
Yeah, it's
Really?
and he just got the money, man. He just signed that big contract, man. Just medically retire, and you're going to get that money. And I just don't understand it. It's tough, man. And I hope we're not seeing, what I hope we don't see him take another hit and something bad happens.
Yeah, I think when the Dolphins rushed him out too soon after his first concussion, they should have gotten just blackball for that. I mean, it's just terrible. That's
that was awful. He was like in a seizure on the field one week, and then the next week he's playing again. It's like
yeah.
It's like Damar Hamlin. It's like the dude didn't play for almost a year, right? Like they made sure he was back and okay. But Tua, it's like, oh, he's clear. He passed the concussion test. Well, what is the concussion test? There's ways to pass that with a concussion. So
Yeah.
if you lie about, how many fingers I see or whatever, and it's blurry or whatever, and you start lying just to get back out there, I think you could do it. But so I'm not saying that he's lying when he's taking these tests, but how else do you explain him going back on the field 6 days after a concussion? And this time it wasn't. This time it was weeks, right? 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yep. Let's go over midseason awards.
Yeah. I got some.
I think that was an awesome topic to talk about because I don't think it's talked about enough.
No, that's great, man.
MVP.
Offense, defense, or both?
Just who's going to win the overall MVP, offense, defense?
Oh, for the NFL?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about who I thought the Cowboys MVP was.
Well, no, I'm talking about like the whole NFL.
So when I was about to answer your question with Brandon Aubrey, you were about to think that I thought Brandon Aubrey should be the NFL MVP. But I mean, okay. So here's if Brandon Aubrey, the all-time record field goal 67 yards, and he's hitting 72-yarders in practice. They rolled him out for a 71-yarder, but then there was a penalty, so then they had to punt. He's hit a 65-yarder. He's 9 for 10 from 50 yards plus. So if they were in the playoffs, and they're not going to be, but if they were, and this guy hits the all-time record field goal of 68 yards to win a game in the playoffs, I would vote for him for MVP. I just want to say that. I would vote for him. But
that's a good backup.
You're not going to like my answer, but I think the MVP right now, if you stopped the season right now and had to give it, is Jared Goff. That would be my MVP today. I don't know who I think who's going to win it after 17 weeks is not Jared Goff, but who I would give it to today would be Jared Goff. So how about you?
I'm going to go either with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's right up there on my list.
So I was on a podcast with Chair Shot Sports last night, and we went over this, and we talked about Henry, Mahomes. I'll go back to Mahomes on why I think, even though and he brought up Baker Mayfield, what he's doing in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I was on that Baker train, but I think it derailed a little bit here in the last couple of weeks. But
the reason I think Mahomes is because, I mean, yeah, he got hurt last week. Looked like it was pretty serious, but you never know, whatever. But the team was down, and he found a way to win.
Always.
That makes you valuable. So That's why, in my eyes, I would I would go with Mahomes for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think if they could do it. I mean, this is not crazy talk. I mean, this is real. If they go 17-0, I don't care what Mahomes' numbers are because everybody's like Lamar's numbers are way better than Mahomes. Blah blah blah. If they go 17-0 and he's the quarterback, he's the MVP of the league. I don't care what.
Absolutely.
Right?
Next one is Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to go first and say Xavier McKinney.
Whew, man, that's
Six six interceptions, uh, a sack, fumble recovery. He's made an impact on that defense. I mean, 24 years old, and I want to thank Hot Take City for letting McKinney walk from the Giants to the Packers.
that was a nice, very nice of the and the Eagles are formally thanking the Giants for giving them their entire offense this year. I don't know what the Giants are doing over there. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Xavier leads the NFL in interceptions, right? He's got 6 picks. Um,
And Kirby Joseph, he has six too.
yeah.
Little punk.
We'll see how that. We'll see how that. And you don't want to know who else is on that list because Brian Branch is on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Trey Hendrickson over here from the Bengals with 11 sacks. I mean, that guy's, you know, he's having a year. But so I'm gonna just say at this point, I like your pick, but I just for the sake of argument, I'm gonna go with Hendrickson because, I mean, he's on pace for over 20 sacks. I mean, that's insane. So,
Yeah.
I'm a defensive sack to quarterback guy. I used to play defensive line, so I always like to see what those guys are doing. So Hendrickson's got my vote right now. Just like my offensive vote, though, I don't think they'll be the MVP in the end. But for the halfway mark, I'll give it to him.
Offensive Player of the Year, I have. It's hard to pick one, so I kind of do three, then kind of talk about good of all three. I got Henry, Mahomes, and Barkley.
Yeah, right now.
I mean, you look at Henry and Barkley; they're going to a new offense, and they're
Yeah,
just killing it.
that's what I just kind of was saying jokingly about the Eagles, but in all seriousness, they got to change their entire offensive philosophy because they picked up Saquon Barkley. I mean, they don't have to. They're not even doing that push that much anymore. Really, I mean, they'll give the ball to Barkley in those situations. Why wouldn't you? With
Right?
those freaking thighs, when he gets low, like he's going to get 1 or 2 yards. Why
Yeah.
why put your quarterback at that risk? The
Well, I'm
problem with
going to stop you here quick. I'm going to say
yeah,
this: what the tush push is. I'm so sick of seeing these teams on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, have the quarterback in the shotgun position
oh
with the running back. Now, how stupid! Like the
man,
Packers last week, they ran Tucker Kraft in motion, then he stopped on the center and they went forward. You
yep.
know why put the ball 5 yards away from where the ball is when you got to gain? Snap it backwards 5 to gain 6. That's just stupid.
And now,
Sorry.
with the rules let you push guys forward. So you would want the guy carrying the ball to be as close to those linemen as possible so they can start pushing you. When you're 5 yards behind the lineman, by the time you get to the line, if a defensive guy's broke through, boom, there goes your first down. I agree with you 100%. That's dumb.
Yeah.
But they give the ball to Barkley now. It's just change your game. But Barkley's issue has always been injuries, so it's a wait and see thing. If he stays healthy, he's going to keep rolling. Derrick
Yeah.
Henry, Derrick Henry, like I said to start the podcast today. There's no reason why he's not in Dallas. Huge mistake by the Cowboys not bringing him in. He's not injury prone either. He's a workhorse. He's
Right.
a beast, and I mean he's on pace for 2,000 yards. He just I got him on my fantasy team, so I could tell you he's having a good season.
Josh Allen too is one that we should bring up. He's doing good things in Buffalo, and
He
and
always,
former Cowboy. They got Amari Cooper. You know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the Bills. Like I get hyped up about them every year. I like the Bills. I want them to succeed, but then they kind of they're like the AFC version of the Cowboys. They get to the playoffs and then it's not the same team anymore.
Well, I mean, a couple years ago they had that back and forth game with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and guess how that ends up though?
I
They always go
I've
home.
said it before. I've proclaimed the Bills as my second favorite NFL team. I like their style of play. Their fans like remind me of the Packers. How I don't
Bill,
party anymore, but I don't drink, but whatever. Like Bills Mafia was always like the kind of stuff that I would indulge myself in when I was growing up and
yeah,
whatnot. So yeah, November 1st I hit 3 years alcohol free. So
congrats, man.
it's yeah, Bills Mafia. So I will hashtag that every once in a while just because obviously the only team in the NFC for me is the Packers. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick anybody else,
Well,
but
that's
AFC
kind of
team,
ironic. That's kind of my deal too. Is I was born in Utica, New York. I'm originally from upstate New York.
sure,
Um, so that's kind of Bills territory up there. So I've always had a soft spot for the Bills, and every year if the Cowboys aren't doing well, I'm always checking to see what the Bills are doing. Well, this might be one of those years where you might be seeing some Bills Mafia stuff on my page too, because I don't think my boys are going to be in the playoffs. So come
right?
playoff time, I might be go Bills. So we'll see. I, I'm, I haven't given up yet because you told me the Packers were 3-6 last year, and they went on and won a playoff game. So you told me that. I'm not going to bail out yet. I'm going to say we're still mathematically in this. Let's see what Cooper Rush has got for us.
Absolutely. Hey, I wish the best for the Cowboys unless we're playing the Packers.
Now we won't be. Don't worry about
And
that.
anybody else in the NFC North, I would just want you guys to murder them.
Oh well, then we won't be doing that either, unless we play
Hey,
the. But that would be a murder. That would be a Hail Mary. They like to give those up. So
speaking of Hail Marys, you led it perfectly into
I
my
know.
next category. Rookie of the year. I'm
Ooh,
going Jaden Daniels.
yeah. I mean, at this point, it's hard to even consider anyone else. I think Bo Nix is getting kind of brushed aside for some reason, and he's having a nice year too. So keep your eye on him. But right now, I think JD is the man.
Well, Bo Nix, he had like 15 years of college experience, so
Should be. He should be. And, it's funny because I hear these people online the other day. This poll: who's the biggest bust of all time? And somebody said Trey Lance. And I said, do you realize that dude's 24 years old? He's younger than the three starting quarterbacks that are competing for Rookie of the Year right now. He's younger than those guys because he came out of college when he was 20. No, well, it was during COVID, and he's like, well, we're not playing football, so I'm just going to go in the draft. So I'm not saying Trey Lance is the answer in Dallas. What I'm saying is he's going to play in the NFL. He is. He's not done developing. So I don't like people saying he's a bust when he's only
well,
20.
it's kind of the same thing. How high Malik Willis is drafted.
Yeah,
You get him in the right program, he's going to do good. I mean,
yeah,
I, little side talk here. When Jordan Love got hurt, Malik had a week to prepare for practice. We knew it was going to be a run heavy offense. Teams that we played against knew it was going to be a run heavy offense, and they couldn't stop it.
yeah.
They couldn't stop it. Okay, either stopping Malik or Josh Jacobs. That one game against the Colts, the Packers had 164 yards in the first quarter against the Colts. The first quarter.
Wow.
And you knew the team was going to run, and you still couldn't stop it. I mean, at that point, go on the goal line defense and stop it.
Do something, right? I don't care what the play sheet says. If they keep running it down your throat, you better put some guys up on the line.
That too. And Jonathan Taylor was having a hell of a game against the Packers. And towards the end, it was a close game.
Yeah,
Towards the end, he wasn't even in.
that's yeah.
So they pulled him out. I don't know why they weren't running him. Maybe he got a small injury, but some of the way some of these coaches think is like we could be head coaches.
Yeah, yeah. And we had I saw a lot of criticizing about why was CeeDee Lamb in the game last week. Well, they lost by 6 points, and they were kicking an onside kick to get the ball back.
Yeah,
Why is CeeDee Lamb in the game? I mean, do you not think CeeDee Lamb can make the difference in a 6 point game? I do. So
right.
injuries happen, and it sucks. And you don't want to be stupid about it if you're down 30. But when you're down one score or even two scores, how hard is it to get two scores in the NFL? And if there's 5 minutes left in the game, can you get two scores? Easily. You got
Depends on who you play against.
yeah, you got 2 minute warning, you got timeouts. You could kick the ball away with 5 minutes left. So I don't,
Right.
to your point about that injury, we had the similar situation with CD, and I'm not one of those guys that are like, why is he even in the game? He should be resting. First of all, he missed training camp, so he's got to play every game, every snap, as far as I'm concerned. You miss training camp, you're still kind of getting your rhythm back. So ain't no way I'm taking him out of the game. And Cooper Rush came in the game because Dak was out. I want CD in the game. I want Cooper and CD to get something going there, and they
Right.
did. They did get something going. So we'll see what happens this week. I'm not picking them to win, but it's going to be fun.
So do we both agree on Jaden Daniels, rookie of the
Yeah,
year?
JD all the way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Last one, comeback player of the year. I'm going with Kirk Cousins.
Oh yeah, slam dunk, man. Yeah, I mean the only other one that we could see creep up there is Jameis Winston, but he hasn't played enough in Cleveland, and he didn't. I don't think he had a good game last week, but he could be considered for it if they start winning. But no, right now Cousins is he's got to be Vegas even odds to win that award at this point, right? Like you have to put up a lot of money to make anything back on betting on him. He's got to be the leader in that.
Yeah, just the way he went there and come back from an injury like that. I mean,
And
he has better numbers than Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers pretty much has like a Christmas list of what he wants, and he
right.
gets it. He still can't do anything.
And at the start of the year, it's like, well, he'll be comeback player of the year for sure. Everybody now he's going to be MVP again. Okay, yeah, right.
But yeah, what's your prediction? Last thing here, and we'll wrap it up. What's your prediction for the Super Bowl? I'm going to go with. Depends on how the playoffs shake up. Like if we can get in Green Bay in the playoffs and hope for other teams to knock out the hard teams before we meet them, that's the only way I think the Packers can make it all the way. Because I think if you're going to go up against the Lions, I think they're going to want revenge from last year getting against the Niners. So I'm going to say Green Bay and KC, and Green Bay with the win, but that's just being a homer. Just I want to be bold on that because you never know; it could come true, and I hope it does.
That's crazy. That's a crazy pick because my preseason pick on my podcast was Packers Chiefs, and the Chiefs win to get the three-peat. So my preseason pick was Packers. My current pick today, if I could, you know, I'll never change my original. It's written in stone. I'll stick with it. But my current pick today for your show is Lions Bills. Like I said earlier, we got to see that zero Super Bowl versus zero Super Bowl. Two good quarterbacks, two good defenses. That would be a great Super Bowl. So I'd love to see that, and the Bills win. The Bills win on a last second field goal. This one doesn't go wide right. This one goes.
Scott Norwood PTSD, right?
Oh, Scott Norwood.
Okay, and if the Bills do make it, they have to have security there. Anyone that walks in with a Scott Norwood jersey, either take it off or just leave.
Yeah, I mean, that's bad luck right there.
For sure. Well, look, I really appreciate you being on today. Had a good chat for sure.
It's always
Um,
I always enjoy it.
look forward to I'll be in touch
Yeah, we'll do it.
on future episodes, and maybe one day I can come on Sons of the Star pod and we can blast Mike Holmgren together.
We're gonna have Packers guests as soon as the Cowboys actually beat the Packers. So we may not still be doing podcasts. We may be like doing some sort of like visual transformations or something in the future of information, because I don't know how many years it's going to take before we get ahead of your franchise over there. But yeah, that's our policy. I'm just kidding.
That's a good policy though, because I don't know. We'd have to rename Jerry World Lambeau South.
Yeah, well, basically, but right now you can't. It's everybody south because right now they are 0-3 at home this year, and they went undefeated for 2 consecutive seasons at home. Now this year they haven't won a single game at home.
That's crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. And
Looks
they're
like the Packers had so much home field advantage in the playoffs because of the weather. And I remember going to this it's going to be a win. No, like getting smoked by the Niners. You get smoked by the one game I was talking to Chair Shot Sports last night. He's a Niners fan, and he brought up the COVID year where the Packers got beat 42-10 against the Niners in Lambeau. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not what it used to be,
yeah, and yeah, the Cowboys have lost at home against the Saints, the Ravens, and the Lions. They've won on the road against the Steelers, the Giants, and the Browns. They have lost on the road as well to the Niners and Falcons, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. How do you beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh in the rain on a Sunday night that got delayed for 3 hours? It's like 3 in the morning. You're out there beating the Steelers, but then
I remember that game.
but you can't beat the Saints at home. So that it just makes you wonder what's going on. That's how I'll conclude. But same way I started this pod today, I'm gonna conclude with I don't know what's going on over there in Dallas. I don't know if they're even trying to win. We'll find out when Cooper Rush is quarterback the next few games. But right now, it looks like a rebuild to me.
Yeah. Well, I hope the best for the Cowboys in the next 8 games, and yeah, I'll be in touch, and we'll get you back on here probably starting next year.
All right, my friend.
It's almost end of the year. It's crazy.
Good luck to your pack.
Thanks.
You got the Bear. You got a bye week this weekend. You got the Bears, right?
Yep.
Oh man, the Bears are
I cannot wait.
That's not a bad that's a good situation for you and a very bad situation for Chicago to get you off a bye week.
I can't wait to lose even more followers on Twitter.
They'll be back. They'll be cheering for you when they're not in the playoffs and you are.
All right. Thanks, Reg.
All right,
Have a good night.
Good
See
night,
ya.
brother.